Here's a simple lettering project with a lot of potential, a lot of possibilities. All you need are cubes of wood and these little brass holders to make candlestick, banks of candlesticks. You can choose any font you like. I'll put these fonts down in the download. I'll make a note of where to get them. I've not done these fonts before, so that's very interesting for me. And I do think you can pretty much carve any font you like. And I've chosen these letters in particular because they contain everything that you'll need to know, the curves, the junctions and so on, for the fonts you need. You can choose your own colour and of course any words you like. Let's start by looking at the wood. Any good carving wood will do. This is quite a hard one. This is sycamore. If you use a light coloured wood, then of course you can paint dark letters. If you have a dark coloured wood, mahogany, something like that, then you'd need to paint a light coloured letter if you're going to paint them. So I've chosen to put the grain in this direction, like this. You could put it this way, but it's actually much more easy to letter across the grain like this, generally. Also, the thing about doing it across the grain like this is you can match up the wood to the next one, so you can take it out of a length of wood. I think that one goes there, perhaps, so I'm not quite sure. But see what I mean? So you can actually line these things up and have a nice look between. They're not going to be close together, so it doesn't really matter too much, but it's nice if we can get the same sort of pattern going across. So that's the wood. You cut it into these blocks like this, nice square blocks. And then let me just talk about this hole at the top. So this hole takes the candle holder. Here it is. It's a brass candle holder that's sold to wood turners, and I'll put some links down below as to where you might get them, wood turner supplies. It's held into that hole, which you have to drill, and I do this all before you start any lettering. It's held into the hole with a little screw, which will go into there. That screw will go in here. And then of course you'll screw that in, like so. And that's a nice firm fixing. You must have a brass candle holder. Don't put the candle directly into the wood. The wax will melt in the wood, then this wood becomes a wick. So you do need a brass candle holder. That's quite important. So we've got our blocks. We've sorted this out, so we're now ready to think about the lettering. So when I was thinking about the lettering, I looked at different sizes, and I thought, something like that was actually a bit small. And what I liked was the idea of something that really rooted the candlestick and made it, really strong sitting on the floor. So a nice strong letter, so quite big. And you can see that I've drawn on the paper here two lines, the footer line that the letter rests on, and the header line here, that's the top, and that helps me orientate them across, because I've drawn the same line here. There's my footer line, there's my header line, and I've also drawn a centre line. Now that won't necessarily be the centre of this letter. Some letters are different from others, and you'll do this bit by eye, but it does help me sort of orientate the letter. And the most important thing is to sort of line them all up so they all look, at the same height and so on. I've also made this line here, the footer line, a little bit, this distance from the bottom to the footer line, a little bit more than this. It's good to have a little bit of weight under here in the letter. So I've moved the whole letter up a touch. So once I've got my letters sorted out and where they're going, I glue them on with your basic paper wood glue. Now you could draw the letters on here, you could draw them straight on here, that's alright, there's no reason not to do that, but it does, from the point of view of filming and showing you, it's much easier to see this, and that's really one of the main reasons why I've done it. So with that, we have got, let's have a look, we've got this set here. So there's our first set, Noel. This is the called Monkey Fingers. Again, I'll put a link below. This is a nice chunky font. That's going to be interesting to see how that carves. And the other set I've done here This is called Texan Tango. Again, free font from the web, and I'll put a links below. So those are my two fonts. They're ready to go. Everything's sorted, and I'll do each block at a time. I'm going to start with the letter E, which is very similar to this letter L. One of the problems, or in fact the problem with this particular font, is this square end here. It's not a natural carving end, so we're going to have to work out a way of dealing with that, those ends here, this square chopped off end. My normal way of working is to ignore all the sort of clever bits, if you like, and just work for the big chunks first and then fill in all these bits later. So that would mean starting in the middle with our stab cut. If you've got a tool that's a good length, that's great, you can use this one. If not, and I'll show you how we do it, if you have a tool which is a little bit narrower, a narrower chisel, so I'm going to make sure that's well in the place. So I put my stab cut in there first, and then I put an angle cut in on the line using my mallet like that, stopping short of the end, swapping over. And if that's slightly out, then here's the opportunity to just dress that. What we're looking for is straight down the middle, equal parallel lines. Now at that point, what I would do is I'd put in some stop cuts. Let me put them in with this fishtail chisel, that's a little bit easier. I'm going to put one stop cut heading up to that corner and one into that corner there. So I'll do that first, and now I'm going to do that one soon, so I'm going to put a stop cut in here. And these will be along the grain, so I'm going to put a stop cut in here and here. And what these stop cuts do is they just control the grain as we cut out. So now we put in the straights along the grain. So again, stop cut in the middle now. And not so hard because it's with the grain, so it goes in easily. And take that bit out. And I can do the same up here. So what I'm doing here is I'm ignoring this curve and just going straight for the edge here. So now what we're left with is really sorting out all this other bit. So let's have a look at that. So let's get, there we go. So what we've got here is an end wall, so everything in here is at 60 degrees or so. So I can slide that in there like that. I do the same here. That's the end wall. And now I need to find a little curved gouge, something like this. A little scoop around there, and the same here, like that. And on this side here I'm going to use the same gouge. Push that in there like that. So sinking that corner into there, like that. And then I can finish that off, like that, dropping that down. That little bit down the bottom there. So what we should be left with is this It's quite a deep wall here, going right down. This is coming up here, and then we have that little corner bit there. So as I say, it's not a sort of natural end for a carving letter, so we have to be a little bit careful just nipping that out. So what we have, as you can see, we have the wall here, the wall on either side here, and then this little bit which forms the end there. So if I take a slightly larger one, I can do this one here. This one's coming around here. I'll take this one at an angle like this. I'm using my skewer to cut that end there. Quite deep down there, as I say, and that's can be a little bit of a problem. Put that corner right in there. You see in this carving that I'm using my skew chisel far more than I would in the other letters on this site. And that's partly because it's so deep. This corner, like a fishtail chisel, won't really get in there without damaging the edge. Also, you've got this fiddly little end bits. So at the end of the day, try and get everything cleanly cut, right down into the root down here. I'll clean that up a little bit more, but just to finish off here, that's opposite to this one here, and just literally we'll just put a little cut like that in there. So I'll touch that up a little bit more just to make sure everything's changed the lighting, clean it up a little bit more. Now take the paper off, and it should come off fairly easily. Oh, there it is. That's what I like about this clue. That'll come off and we can see what we've got. And check the edges. And what's important is this edge here, because this is the edge that the paint will go up to. So with something like the N, I will deal with these big bits first, and then all these little junctions and everything second. So, as before, we will do the uprights, stab cut down the middle. Try that again. So I would put some stop cuts in there. I always like my stop cuts. Something up to the top there, something across here, making sure I'm covering the grain. Stop cuts, as always, will disappear. Going right to the corner there. They'll disappear when we've actually done the carving. That's the nature of a stop cut, is that it is in the waste and just protecting the grain. A bigger tool here. Use my narrow chisel to address those. So there's that nice junction coming in. On this side. Okay, let me turn this around a little bit so that you can see these better. Put that in there. Okay, so dealing with this, and it is a problem, these ends, and the bigger the letter, the easier this would be. But what I would do, something like put in the end wall here like that. Or like that. Pushing that in. Remember, I've got my stop cuts. Then I'm going to, I'm going to do one other thing. I nearly forgot. I'm going to put this end here. Just stab my skew chisel in there like that at an angle. So now I'm taking that corner off and merging that in and sinking that corner down into there. Same on this side, sinking that into there. I'll do it over this side. Yep, as you can see it here, dropping that corner in. And then if all's gone well, we should start being able to take some of that out down the bottom here. Okay, from right down. That's very deep down there. And I'm using this corner like a knife. So as a general rule, serifs, because they're wider, they will always be deeper. So the bottom of the serif is always deeper and a little bit extra shadow, and I think we want to show that. So this is the tricky bit here, and you might like to think of a smaller skew, or even a tip of a knife might do that. Anyway, let's go on to this one. So that's the same. So that's down there. That's going to be across here. And I'll probably go back to a flat chisel for that element there. So, make sure that's clean. So while I've got the tool in my hand, as it's an automatic thing, I tend to use the same tool as long as possible. But let's pull that up there. So what I need to do now is, I've done the best I can, is I'll take the paper off, obviously, and then turn it around into the lighting, different light, get a different sense of what's going on, and then there'll definitely be some little bit of cleaning up to do. Oops, so I stabbed that a little bit too hard, but I'll just ignore it. Okay, so taking the paper off, which comes off very easily with that sort of glue, then I can see these edges, and I check those up, clean up anything, and make sure that's nice and clean before I go on to, the actual painting at the end. So I've done the L. That's very similar to the E, just with bits missing. So what we're left with now is the O. And as before, I'm going to ignore these side bits here and just create this sort of fat circular form here, like I would a normal sort of letter, and fill in those afterwards. So as usual, we would start with a stab cut down the middle, something like this. And then I'd find tools that will bring that round the corner. And again, what I'm doing is controlling the grain. And perhaps another tool here. So stabbed it all the way around. And then I'm going to start cutting some of this away here. So this is within the line. I'm just roughly taking wood out on this side and here. So it's a bit of rough clearing away to begin with. So this paper's getting in the way a little bit. So now I will pick up this line. Start coming round on the outside, like so, and over here. And this is a slicing cut, pushing the tool around like that. And then on the inside I'll need a bit of a tighter gouge. Swing that round here. And the other end. Swing that round there like that. And I'll pick up that inside line there. Trying to merge all these cuts together, using that bottom there. Now, I need to, I haven't got the right tool here. Let me just pause. No, let's pause the camera a moment while I get one. So I went and got quite a big gouge, one that'll cover that curve really well. That's the trick, is finding the tool that will create these curves, and the bigger the tool the better. So there's that side, and back to a flat gouge to clean up the bottom like that, using that like a knife down the bottom. So if all's gone well, we should have what I'm looking for is a clean junction going down the middle all the way around. So I will need to just do a little bit of finessing of that when I change the light. But I'll get this right here, and then I'm left with those two side bits, which we've done just as before, with my fishtail chisel. It'll cut like that. Cut here. Doesn't matter if that comes down to the bottom of the trench or not. In fact, that's probably the nicest way to do it. Okay, so what I'll do again is I'll take this paper off, and it's lovely the way it comes off so cleanly. Change my lighting, and then the O is finished. All right. Sorry, Carrie just pointed out, of course, that there's an inside triangle, and I completely forgot that. So, so this is going to come across here like that. So, I would just do this on this side, exactly the same. I'm making this one a little bit smaller, so I don't want to meet in the middle. There you go. I think that'll keep Carrie happy. So again, I'll now change the lighting, have a look, and see see if there's anything I can finesse around the edge. Like I can see a little bit there, for example. Before painting, let me just say that if you have a wood with an open grain, like oak or something like that, it'll tend to wick colours in, so you will need to seal inside the cut grain first. I'm going to use straight up acrylic paint. It's an artist's acrylic crimson. I'm not going to dilute it. I'm just going to push it in there, and I won't need to seal it because this is sycamore. I'm not cleaning anything off yet because that'll be the last thing I do. So essentially, I'm going to work from the inside out like this, coming up slightly over the top, but making sure I've come to the edge like that. And that's it. And I probably need a couple of coats to make sure that's nice and thick. It's a nice colour. You can do it, of course, any colour you like, but I think this crimson is a good sort of Christmassy colour. Make sure that goes right down into there. Okay, so that's the first one. So with this, I'll move on to the rest, work my way through all of them. As I say, perhaps putting on 2 coats. Yeah, certainly 2 coats. Once the paint is completely dry, you can sand that off by getting something like 180 grit and rubbing it with the grain like this. Doesn't take much to get that off. You can see that it comes to a nice sharp edge, which is really nice. So I've finished off with something like 240 grit. Fine, I'll do the edges so that they're nice and this is a nice tactile thing. You can varnish it if you like. I'm going to leave mine straight natural wood, but you could varnish it, gloss, matte, whatever. And then when you've done that, it's a matter of putting the little holder in there. Screw that down nicely. And there's your block. So here they are. All looking, I think, really nice. Ready for the candles.